Yes, so let's start the meeting. I have sent the Etherpad. Post that again in the chat. There are the from last interim we can look at. I know I need those to remember what we said. Okay. Yes, so maybe we can start with the mail I sent today. So you might have seen, Carsten. I reviewed the pull request. It's all fine. I had a couple a couple of responses to your response, but you can go ahead and merge that.
Yeah. So my plan is to go through your response and turn anything that I think still needs to be done into another issue and merge the pull request that we have, unless there's something that's very quick to fix.
There is just 2 points, I think. One is about the the apps area working group contact, and you were wondering if we should just change it to ISG and what would be the contact then. So either I think ISG is good as a change controller, and the contact could either be the CBOR working group or the art@itf.org.
Yeah, so that's actually what I'm planning to put in there: cbor.itf.org or art.itf.org.
Yeah, that sounds good, because I think one of those two will work anyway.
Yeah, I'm not sure that art.itf.org is going to be a very long-lasting name, but I think when
the IANA registry wrote art.itf.org or whatever, what did they say, like whatever follow-up, or I don't know, what did they call it, derivative of it, something like that. But that doesn't really help to the person
I would expect that when that gets replaced, there will be some forwarding. So I think we are on the safe side there.
I think there was still like, let me just check, because I think that when I checked today, there was still let's see, not that important, but yeah, there is still like plus JSON, the contact is still apps area working group, apps discuss at IETF.org.
Oh, really? Okay. Yeah. But apps discuss is forwarding to art, right?
I have no idea. I don't know that.
Yeah, I have made the comment repeatedly that we need to maintain some best practices for media type registrations, because each time I'm writing a draft with a media type registration in it, I'm running into the issues of this kind again and again, and I think we just have to agree what the right ways of doing things are.
Another thing I could do is ask our beloved area director and see what Alexei says. But
so let me make the change, and then we can ask Alexei whether that's the right
do that. And yeah, and what I was thinking about is the JSON text sequence that says application real-time area discussion art at itf.org or any ISG designated successor. I mean, that's good, but that's not the person who is going there and looking for a contact point. And I see that in the CBOR sequence, you put in the CBOR working group mailing list. So you can just do that. I think that's fair.
okay.
So
You
that
said
this
two items?
Yeah, and the other was very minor, but I mean, all of these are minors, all of these are editorials. The other one was where I was asking about an example of what, quote, very small amount of code could be. And all I meant is that you talk about, for example, in class one constraint nodes as defined in 7228, I meant it's just class one constraint nodes with around 100 kilobytes code size as defined in. So that those are the numbers that you find in 7228. But just I had to go in and look for it. It's just like to remove this, or when we say about like very small amount of code is so general that it could be, and when you have an example next to it, it looks much better.
Yeah,
That was it.
the reason I'm a little bit shy of doing this kind of thing is that, of course, the specific value, what is small in this space, depends a bit on what you are trying to do.
Yeah,
So if you're internet facing, then 100 kilobytes is a small amount. But if you are not really interfacing, you just need to process CBOR in some form, then maybe 100 kilobytes may be a lot.
yes. No, but I understand your point. And this was just like for the example anyway.
Yeah,
This is already in the for example parentheses, but I'm fine either way, keep it or leave it. Like I'm good.
yeah,
I was
yeah.
just trying to make the text,
I just wanted to point out why I'm hesitant there.
Yeah.
So, generally, it helps not having to follow links, but sometimes it's also very confusing to extract one specific aspect from a link to a document that really is opening a much larger can of worms. And so I'm always very hesitant of one document essentially trying to explain what another document is doing. Because we have had bad, in the normative space, not in the example space, but in the normative space, we have had bad examples of one document trying to explain what another document is doing, and mangling that explanation sufficiently that there were actual interoperability problems with that. So that's
Yes.
I'm always a bit hesitant.
I understand, and I'm fine with you leaving as just this was the other one other comment that I said.
Okay.
I had something else to say, but yeah, I'm fine. You can go ahead and merge it and close. Yeah, you can close that. Okay. Did you hear from Jeffrey?
No.
No. Okay. So PR 105.
I think I congratulated him to the WPEC success,
I said that.
which may be keeping him busy at this point.
I think it would be good to get his okay before merging that, even if it takes a bit longer.
Yeah, so my intention was to look at the other issues that have floating point aspects to them and work them into this pull request. So I'm not that unhappy that he hasn't reviewed it yet, because the pull request may actually evolve a little bit.
Okay. Carsten, too. You were planning on starting with floating, with writing this floating point things, and that's not done yet, you said?
Right. There are other floating point related issues out there, and I think the text addressing those can go into the same pull request, because this really needs to be aligned with the changes that already are in 165.
Okay. Yes, I can see there's these two new issues, or not, sorry. One new issue since last meeting. Which one are the issues that you're talking about now? The 153 or 160? No.
Yeah, I think 160 is one of those, and 153 is the other one.
Okay.
And the one pull request I haven't done would then address 156 and 63.
Okay. Sorry, the one pull request you haven't done.
Yes, that I promised to do last time and haven't done yet.
Okay. 160. What numbers did you say? 163.
156 and 63.
156.
No, 153 and 63. I'm sorry.
Okay, that I had already put in. Okay.
No, now I'm confused. I'm sorry. 156 and 63. That's right. Sorry, I just was confused.
No, it's fine. It's fine. Because 153 I already noted, so that's.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry, I'm not looking at what you're typing, and I should be. But
Okay, so
yeah, more like this.
yeah, go ahead then, please. Right, and this is okay because on the minutes from last time you were planning on starting with the floating point stuff first and then including the fix me. I don't remember what this fix me was, but
Well, I think there was still a fix me in the text somewhere.
so you don't have updates for this meeting basically,
No,
or okay?
I'm afraid I don't.
No, it's fine. I'm just checking, just to make
I'm
sure.
getting dangerously close to the internet draft deadline, so
Yeah.
I'm not happy.
And if you remember, it's good that I bring up the minutes from last meeting because I also forget a lot in 2 weeks. But we were thinking, we were saying that we're hoping to start the working group last call the 19th, so next week.
Yes.
And we should decide today if run it for 1 or 2 weeks. Because if we run it for 1 week, then you might have time to do one more update after the working group last call ends before submission cutoff. Otherwise, it's like it ends. Like it gives you a couple of days before submission cutoff, and you probably won't be able to include the whatever comments you get. If you get any more comments.
That's now too ambitious. So I think we should go for a 2-week working group last call, and we should do it next week.
Okay. So working group last call, let's say 2 weeks, and then for starting date, I guess whenever we have the next submission, like including this pull request for map validity, including my my review, and hopefully Jeffrey, if we can get him to approve of the 165. And yeah, Lawrence, you also had one APO new if you had time to do that.
I have not. That was which one was that? 159, 138, 159.
Yes, exactly. And that was to close issue 138.
I'll do that in the next day or two. I have it open, and I'll do it in the next day or two.
I think like there is no real hurry. I think since we're still waiting on Jeffrey and Carsten has these updates, but when you have time, then Carsten knows that he can go ahead and merge that as well.
Okay.
Okay, I know that. Check. You're under 59. Notify Carsten and mailing list. So I also see that because I will have to do shepherding of this. So good that I see.
Yeah, so 159 was already merged, but
okay.
I still would love to hear from Lawrence whether we did the right thing here.
That was written. I missed that.
Okay.
Okay. I'm reviewing the text that we have discussed. Okay, so working group last call after next submission, or yeah, now it's hard to give a date, right? Because it depends on you, Carsten, when.
Yes. I will be in Berlin the start of next week, so the 19th is hard to promise.
Yes, I understand. And then we don't have a hurry to be before submission cutoff, so we can give it 2 weeks. Okay. Yeah, so saying 153 and 60, which are those that you wanted to include in Jeffrey's PR before reaching out to implementers. That's still in the plan. So I guess you want to wait for next submission before reaching out. So should we reach out to implementers at the same time as we saw working group last call, or do you want to do that before?
Well, probably we can do this a little bit before, but I think it would be good to have not that many remaining pull requests that are unmerged before we talk to them.
That's okay.
So of course some of them like this Edwards Montgomery guy we can talk to earlier because it's their issue obviously that we are working on, but the wider reach out edge or slightly ahead of time of the working group code.
Great. Everything, because I tend to forget lately. Okay. And I think that's it. This is basically this is a little AP list to go through to make sure that everything is moving along. Let's see. So yeah, these 9 issues. Anything that we need to discuss? Maybe the new issue 167. You seen that?
I'm trying to remember. Yeah, so I think the interesting question behind this issue is when you have an uninitialized or undefined value for a time, is it actually helpful to know that this is a time, or is it sufficient to use something like null or undefined as a general mechanism? So people are sometimes so stuck in the type system they are using in the implementation language that they don't see the obvious way of handling something by simply using undefined or null.
Yeah. Mm.
Yeah, I haven't looked at this into detail, but that was really the underlying issue that I took from this.
Yes.
So you're designing a protocol, and somewhere in your protocol is a field that is a time, and you want to be able to say, I don't know what the time is, or
I know that this is time, but the time is, yeah.
one option is to not put the data item in, but that doesn't work in some scenario. That works in maps and like in, CWT claims, but it won't work in a lot of other protocols. So the question is how you specify. I mean, we had some discussion about this in Prague, I think, about unspecified or unknown. Like, how do you, particularly like with expiration, how do you say no expiration? And I'm not remembering very clearly where we ended up with that, but
Yeah, in X509, those elements are mandatory. So people have made up a convention of using the year 9999
right,
to indicate no expiration.
yeah,
And I think that that's not the outcome we want to
probably not. So yeah,
generate. So what Montgomery Edwards notices is that not a number is actually allowed there because that's a floating point value.
yes,
So that's one way of doing this. I think that's pretty weird. So normally I think just putting a null in place of what would have been a time is the right way to do this. And if you have a protocol that not putting a time somewhere, but still requires you to put something, like if you have an array and the third element is the time, then you have to put something there. Then use null or maybe even undefined if that's really what you're trying to do.
that seems pretty close. What I would choose. I mean that convention could be actually made pretty broad for all kinds of things. Like integer values and other things too, other types of fields. Can you write that in CDDL?
Which part? Something like time or null? Yes, you can say that.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe I should write a response for this issue first and see what Montgomery Edwards has to say.
Yeah, sounds good.
That's X448.
Yeah. X448.
So formally, as a working group, we don't really accept contributions from people who don't identify themselves, but I think we can ignore that here.
Yeah. I think what you say makes sense, Karsten. Okay, and then the other issues are we discussed. I think there is no really anything new. Nothing that I can see. So
The list of changes is a piece of work that needs to be done.
yes, I think review MIME registration text once more. I like I like the title. Get rid of the artwork. Yeah. 160. Yeah, that was one of those to go in Jeffries. 56, 53, 63. Yeah, we covered all of those. So I think just needs to get done. And then there is a typo that was noticed. Great.
Yeah, I think it's even fixed in either your or Jeffrey's pull request, but I'm going to merge that pull request because it's just nice that somebody noticed.
Yes, yes. Great. So I think that's it then. It sounds like a plan.
Yeah, we just need to execute on that.
Yes, exactly. I don't have APs on me, but you have a couple, and Lawrence, and hopefully Jeffrey as well can take some time to do the PR. And then we can move on from that. And then my AP will be to call the working group last call. So let me know when you think the version is. I mean, I will see it. You will also see it.
I will submit a new internet draft and then say this is the one.
Yeah. I mean, if you know, it might happen and you submit like 2 or 3 versions at the same time. So in that case, let me know. Good.
So in the minutes, you maybe should mention that we quickly talked about the SIoT hackathon next week, and that's some interesting CDDL and CBOR work is going on there. So just in case people check the minutes, they should know that we talked about that.
You can say that again, so it gets into the recording as well.
Yes, so next week there is a joint hackathon of the 3 working groups, RADS, TEEP, and SUIT. And in particular, SUIT, but also RADS, is using CBOR and CDDL, so there is some related implementation work going on, in particular with respect to generating code from CDDL. So it will be interesting to see what specific issues come up there, and we can feed them back into the working group.
Thank you. I'm trying to find the link.
Hey, I'm going to drop off here. I've got another thing to go to here. So.
Sounds good. Joining.
Yeah, good to talk to you. Bye.
Bye. So I think we're done.
Yes, we're done. Very, very short. I mean, not super short actually, but shorter than usual. And yes, I'll talk to you in 2 weeks then.
Did we get those interim meeting requests out? Is there actually one scheduled?
Yeah. You didn't see
Okay.
the
Oh, I would have to find them in my mail. So
no,
this
but
was
we
okay.
have, so we have three just to for everybody. So we have one today and one in 2 weeks, the 26th of
Yes.
February. And then the last one is the 11th of March.
Yes.
And
I
the
knew
11th of March might actually be a problem for me because I have something at work the whole day and I'm not sure that I can miss it. But let's see. We'll talk about it in next interim and see.
Right.
About it. Okay. That's it. Thanks, Carsten.
And have a nice day.
Bye bye.
Bye bye.